talking this morning, I began to think about what he was saying in terms of being pregnant and actually birthing something. And we had a recent experience that was so much like that. It's one thing to hear people say, to give birth to your dreams. It's one thing if you've never really experienced what that's like. We have children, we have babies, we go through the labor, the delivery, and all of those things. But how do you equate that to something that you're delivering out of the spirit realm into the natural realm? Because that's really what happens. And back in December, God gave me the idea for a project. And we had tried similar projects like this, and they had failed miserably. Anybody ever fail at anything? And you're like, God, why did you even set me up? It's like you're feeling like, why am I in this position? Well, we failed miserably twice. And I was really not wanting to do this again. I'm thinking I must have missed something. I didn't take a class. Maybe I don't know what the issue was, but he wanted me to do it again. So I said, okay. And we started out on this project, and it's called The Queen's Legacy. And the Queen's Legacy Project was a project where God had promised that the authors in this project, that they would be healed and that the readers would be inspired. And as we went through this process, how many of you know we were met with resistance? And now resistance, a lot of times people who are not peak performers, they will think resistance is a sign or a symbol that you've made an error, that you're doing the wrong thing. How many of you know that resistance is more of a sign, a signal that you're doing the right thing, okay? Because the enemy is not going to allow God's work to be fulfilled in the earth realm with ease. So we have to be prepared from the very beginning to know what it is that we're going to go through and focus not on what we're going through, but who we will be on the other side. So before I go any further, ask you a question. I have to do this. Is it okay for me to coach you? Can I keep it real with you today? Hardcore. You may not like me later, kind of real. Bob, we got security? Because I'm very serious about seeing what God has spoken into your lives coming into being. And that means I may have to say some things that you won't like. And I'm okay with that. See, Jesus came to comfort the afflicted. I came to afflict the comfortable. There's a difference. Okay? So one of the things that Bob said in the very beginning, he talked about the two people coming to the same seminar, and that each of them, one would go home and get everything they came for, get the return on their investment. You're here anyway, right? Might as well get an ROI, return on investment. And then the other person just kind of came to Florida, may spend some time with Mickey Mouse and go on back home, never, and be the same, never change. Well, there are a few key things that you can do to make sure when you come into an environment, you get what you came for. Did you know that? One of them is to be expectant. Have an expectancy. Know what you came here for. So even over the break, you want to take some time and get clear about why it is that you're even here. Secondly, you've got to record what you hear. And I don't mean simply buying the CDs. You want to do that. But there's a learning process that we all have. Some of us, we learn better by hearing. Some of us learn better by seeing. But the majority of us, the overwhelming majority of us, we learn better when we do both. This is why we say anytime you come into an environment where there's information being shared, you have to take notes. You have to record it. You've got to write down not exactly what the speaker is saying, but what is spoken to you as the speaker is saying. See, this is where you're going to get the majority. We talk about some major downloads happening this weekend, and I don't want you to miss yours. I don't want you to miss that one God idea, not just a good idea, but that one God idea that can change your family's financial future forever. Your family tree forever. That can change your mind and thereby change your life. So we only retain 7% of what we hear the first time. 7% of what you spend all that money and all that time and energy to come here for, you're going to retain. The rest of it, you're going to have to write it down. You're going to have to get the CDs. You're going to have to review it so that it becomes a part of you. Okay, faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing, 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 right? So I know I just saw some people that were just kind of looking at me, and they're not there. They're not really in there. You got to be where you are. My mentor, who's made billions of dollars, runs 43 businesses right now, said, be where you are. If you're here, be here. Attentive, on point, okay? All right, so we decided to do the project anyway. Now, they told us it would never work because there was a different twist on this project. It was going to be all women. And we were going to bring together 30, 40 women to write stories about women who were queens in their lives. And they were going to share those legacies. Anytime you get, how many of y'all know, anytime you get 30, 40 women doing anything, it can be challenging, right? I told you I was going to keep it real with you. Well, we ended up with 48 women in this project. 48 women wrote their stories. We went through 3 different editors. I had to fire one of my good friends because she didn't perform. And I'm a peak performer. So if you're going to be around me, you got to be what? You got to be peakly performing, if that's even a word. Thank you. And it didn't work out. So we went through 3 different editors. And I remember, thank God for the women that God places in your lives to surround you with prayer. You know, women that you can call and say, girl, guess what happened? I don't know if I can do this anymore. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know? Because she talks to you not like you want to be talked to, but like you need to be talked to. Now, normally we get an attitude with those people. But when you are on purpose and on point, you're like, all right, you're right. I'm wrong. Let me just go and get back on the horse, and keep doing what I was doing. Well, we were able to get the thing done. April 7th, the book was released. And it's called The Queen's Legacy. And it's a collaboration, a compilation of 48 men and women. I forgot the men. I'm sorry, kings, who wrote about the women who have been queens in their lives. We've got everyone from civil rights leaders to mamas to grandmothers to, just all types of situations. The things that we go through as women that no one ever really addresses, they're addressed here. And we're seeing people's lives change as a result. So we released the book officially on April the 7th. April the 9th, it was available on Amazon.com. And it went bestseller in 6 categories. Not 1, but 6. Now, this was our goal. And there's some of the authors in the room I'll introduce you to in just a moment. But it was our goal to get in the top 100 best-selling books on all Amazon. That's over 6 million books. Our goal was top 100. So the day before, now there's a lesson in this. Y'all should be taking notes on this story because this is about persistence. We had to watch the numbers every hour because they changed. They're updated every hour. So we're watching, looking for this 100. We saw ourselves go from, oh my gosh, where were we at? 70,000, right? We went from 70,000 to 37,000, from 37,000 to like 1,900. We were like, if we could just get in the 3 digits, so we're just watching it hour upon hour upon hour upon hour. Well, the highest we got was 102. And we were kicking ourselves like, man, we said 100. We wanted 100. Now, top 100. We were at 102. Now, we're at 102 out of 6 million books, and we got an attitude, right? Well, God said 100, right? So we're looking for this 100. And I happened to see this little tab, and it said bestsellers. And I clicked on it, and guess what? Number 1, motivational books. Number 1, women's biographies. Number 1 in spiritual books. Number 2, movers and shakers. Number 49, top new releases. And Steve Harvey's book was number 6 on that same list, okay? And 102 overall. So a lot of times the things that we are asking and begging God for, we're just looking in the wrong place. We just need to go on and click that little button and go on and look where God has it already set aside for us because it's there. He doesn't lie. What he says is true. We just have to get in alignment with what he says. We're going to talk about being peak performing women. And, it's not always easy, trust me, but it's always worth it to be a peak performer. Okay, so we're going to go through some definitions here real quickly, just so that we have kind of a starting place in terms of what we're going to be talking about. What is business? Business is that with which a person is principally or seriously concerned. Okay, something with which a person is rightfully concerned. What they're doing is none of my business. So we're talking about being a woman in business. Now, women in business, we do commerce. Okay, we do business a little differently than men. Does anybody know that? Do you realize that being called to business is a privilege? That when God said, okay, how many business would we have in the room? Well, every hand should be up. Whether you own a business or want to own a business, we do run businesses, even if your business is your household. So being called to business is absolutely a privilege. It's an opportunity to reach people at levels where we would not normally have access to them. I have met hundreds of thousands of people. Why? As a result of my business, okay? So, women in business, we engage in commerce. Now, the definition of commerce, social relationships, especially the exchange of views and attitudes, sexual intercourse, or intellectual or spiritual interchange, communion, so to speak. Now, we do this naturally all the time. We are out there telling people about products, ideas, services, things that excite us, right? That's why in the network marketing industry, women do better than men. Did you know that? Do y'all think network marketing is a bad word? How many of y'all like network marketing sucks? You really do? Okay, that's fine. I want you to be honest. Let's talk about that for just a moment here. I've been in the network marketing industry since I was 18 years old. Okay, that's about 8 years ago. And in the why y'all laughing? In the network marketing industry, we do it all the time anyway. We're just not paid to do it. If I go to a great restaurant, I'm going to call Sherry and say, hey, matter of fact, perfect example. Yesterday, I smelled her cologne, I should say. She was walking by and I said, that smells really good. What is that? And she told me what it was. I was like, that's right. You told me about that before. And I went and bought it and I started wearing it. For years, I wore it and I just kind of got away from doing it. Why? Because she told me. Now, if it had been network marketing, a compensation plan attached, she would have gotten paid every time I bought that product. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. What happens is network marketing becomes bad because individuals go in and they create these schemes. Okay. Some people say, is it a pyramid? Is it a pyramid scheme? Pyramids are the natural structure of business. If you have a job, your structure is a pyramid. It's a pyramid. So let's make sure we are educated when we're talking about these things. The pyramid structure just means that you have a boss who gets paid more than you did. Probably the visionary, the person whose idea the business was, gets paid more than everybody. Then he creates maybe a board of directors or a board or a core team that works with him, and they get paid a certain amount of money, and then they oversee some people who work with them or under them. All right? That's that pyramid structure. Nothing wrong with it until you take away a service, a viable service or product. And now you're just laundering money among your friends and family. So network marketing as an industry is an incredible industry. People are making millions of dollars. Lifestyles are being changed. See, what I love about network marketing is it's an opportunity to do well by helping people and do good financially yourself. Okay? Because, money is only a measure of the size of the problem you're solving. Did you know that? Money, you get money for solving problems. Are y'all with me? Okay. So commerce. Okay. Business really for me, network marketing, whether it's that industry or my traditional businesses or whatever, is really a front. I do business so that I can get access to God's people. See, because once you got their captive attention, now you can really tell them who God is. So because I'm not chasing a dollar, I'm really out here doing the Great Commission. That's why the things that we do are successful ultimately. All right. So we as business people have the opportunity to further our own causes. So whatever it is that you believe in, now you've got a captive audience because you're offering them a viable product or service, something that they need. Okay. And it's important in that process that we recreate ourselves, that we are duplicating ourselves in other people. It's not enough for you to have enough for yourself, but you need to assist others in doing the same thing. Well, that's network marketing, isn't it? So what is a peak performer? A peak performer is one who operates at a high level of effectiveness and efficiency. These are the people who get it done no matter what. We embrace problems, we embrace challenges, and we solve problems. That's what we do. And I love what Bob said earlier when he said he simply disconnected himself from the registration here. Because there wasn't really anything that he could do about it anyway. He had been fired, okay? It wasn't his issue. It wasn't his challenge. Why are we taking on the challenges of the world? Don't we have enough in our own lane? Sometimes we need to disconnect from even the problems and challenges of our own children. I mean, come on, all morning long we heard about, turn your phone off because the kid's going to call. It's going to be an issue. Well, look, let those distractions handle themselves. We've got to be about doing what we were created to do and doing it at a peak performing level. We've got to learn to do what men do, which is to compartmentalize, to set aside what the issues are so that we can deal with what we can deal with. There was nothing he could do. Sherry was not going to let him send out another email. She wasn't going to let him, start a whole new marketing campaign. All he had to do was show up because that was her number, her issue, her challenge. So look at your life for a moment. Remember, y'all said I could go into your business, right? Look into your life and see what's there that you are involved in, enveloped in, chained to, tied up with, that you have no business being there. Things that God did not, there are problems that will come your way that God did not create you to solve. You might be the person to introduce that person to the person who came to solve the problem, but it's not your problem to solve. So now you're frustrated, you're worried, you're upset, you're challenged, your resources are spent, and they were spent, I say spent instead of sown, because you spent them. God didn't say put money there or time there, and you did it, so there's no return on your investment. And I have to be careful because a lot of times I don't want you to think I'm all business, like I have no heart. I do have a heart, but it comes behind the business. Because God said, here's the order. This is how it works. Emotions, and we're going to talk about it. I'm getting ahead of myself. Emotions are a great tool, but you don't use your emotions to make decisions. Your emotions are a tool, like a hammer. You need to put a nail in, you use your emotions. Your emotions give you information, but that is not what you are to base your decisions and your next move on. I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's the thing. Those of us who say or think that we're not in business, or any of us actually at all, if you think or you're looking to get something for nothing, guess what? You're going to end up with nothing. We have to have the mindset that says we're going to leave a place better than it was when we got there. All right. We need to make sure that we are creating more in this earth realm than we are consuming. Always make sure you're creating more than you're consuming. All right. And I know people say, how do you keep moving? I mean, you're always doing something. You're never off. And I'm really not. It's challenging for me sometimes. I literally have to leave the country, go someplace where my cell phone doesn't work to really get all the way off. And then it still takes me 3 or 4 days. But I told them just like this, it's better for me to work out than to rust out. It's better to work out than to rust out. Don't sit around doing nothing, expecting something to happen. And what happens is you become rusty. You lose your edge in whatever that talent or skill is that God has given you. We have got to keep moving. We're only here for a limited amount of time. I got 2 calls on Thursday. I got a lot of calls on Thursday, but these 2 really stuck out in my mind. One young lady I worked with in our business, very vibrant, very inspirational. I mean, an incredible, incredible woman. I mean, just, oh my gosh, she inspired me so many years just by her smile, just by being around. I got a call that she had been diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, what is that? That means that one by one, your muscles, they atrophy. They stop working until ultimately your heart, which is a muscle, stops. She had been given a very short period of time to live. Now, how many of y'all know that although I love her dearly, I really didn't want to go over there? I told you I was going to keep it real. Now, y'all can fake like you want to go see your friends and family in this painful type of situation, but you do it because you know it's not about you. And I got over there and I was talking to her and she was crying and we were going over some things and God really spoke a word and we were able to minister to her. But the thing that challenged me was the same thing that challenged me in this second situation. Another good friend of mine, about 6'4", 320 pounds, strapping, played football. Last July had a serious stroke. And the whole left side of his body was paralyzed. And I had to go see him on Sunday. And I'm looking at these 2 individuals who were once very vibrant. Now, their minds are super, super sharp. They are still on it mentally. But physically, they can't do anything. They cannot motivate themselves. They cannot move out of their current positions. They are trapped inside their bodies. Now, I don't know about you all, but the whole idea of being trapped inside my body and not having done destiny, not having fulfilled my purpose drives me nuts. This is why we have to keep moving, because we talk about tomorrow's not promised to us, like we may die, but we don't even talk about the fact that something could happen where you can't do what you were called to do. You cannot procrastinate. Procrastination is devastation. It's the assassination of your destination. Say, I must do it now. Say it. We must do it now. We've got to get it done. And that's what peak performers do. We don't put off till tomorrow what we need to do today, but we get it done now. And even if that did happen, we as peak performers are going to find a way out of it. That's what I spoke to Greg. I said, you know what? If anybody will ever walk again, it's you. And, he was saying to my uncle, he's like, I can't hold the phone yet. I can't go over there and get that yet. His key word was what? Yet. So in his mind, he had already convinced himself that he was going to walk again, that he's going to hold the phone again. And he, again, inspiring us out here. We have all our facilities. We have all of our facilities. We can do what we need to do, but we're not. And I felt ashamed. I watched that young lady cry about not being able to take herself to the bathroom. And how many times do we complain about, here we go again? I will never, never complain about that again. Understand, in life, all of these things in your journey, there are lessons to be learned. And there's some things that we need to tweak in our very attitudes, our behavior, how we roll, so to speak. And these are our opportunities to get it right, to get it straight. And there are going to be a lot of them. So you need to record them. And like Bob said, be able to go back and and review them. So, peak performers, we are great at making decisions, all right? The definition of decision, the act or need of making up one's mind. I'm not going to go through all these. You can actually go to Webster's and get the definition of decision. But understand, the root of the word decision is deciduous. It means cutting off all options. It means no matter what. It means come hell or high water, I'm going to do what I've decided to do. And we all have some areas in our lives where we need to make a different decision. I tell you what, the decisions that you made yesterday create your lifestyle today. Some of us have to make decisions about people in our lives, our associations. Associations, they're everything. If you hang around 9 broke people, guess what? You're bound to be the 10th, all right? It's the same thing when you hang around 9 wealthy people, guess what? You're bound to be the 10th. Your income today is the average income of your 5 closest friends. How many of us need some new friends, right? Well, you came to this event, you definitely are going to get that average up. You've got to decide that you're going to be a strong woman in business, that you're going to stand for something so you don't fall for anything. Doesn't mean that you won't make mistakes, but it does mean that you will learn from them and you will grow. And here's the thing, we want to grow through, not just go through. We want to be better on the other side than when we started this process. And the only way to do that is to really focus on who you're going to become on the other side. So anybody tired? Anybody get tired? I get tired. I get tired of every time I turn around, there's resistance. There's a challenge. There's something else. Again, just keeping it real. There are times where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I quit. And I look at my watch, give myself 10 minutes to quit, and 10 minutes later, I'm back on it. Because even if you have to mentally separate yourself from what you're going through, just long enough to gather some more strength, as long as you always have another starting point, it's okay to quit. Now, this for me is a paradigm shift. Because I was in the audience when Bob first talked about quinking stuff, right? Is that the word? Quink, right? And I was like, well, why would you quit? To me, it's just a realignment. It's just, change direction. But you know what? Literally, sometimes we need to quit. Sometimes we need to quit and not restart. There's some relationships we need to quit and not restart. And I'm saying, I guess, because I'm administering to this young lady who's got someone in her life who's never had anything, but she's looking to them for advice. Where are you seeking your advice? Who's speaking into your life? And are they worthy? And I'm not saying that you're going to have one person who speaks into your life at every area. I have mentors in business. I have spiritual mentors. I have mentors financially, and I don't want, for real, one of my speaking mentors, I don't want him speaking into my relationship life. He messed that all up, right? Just like you don't want me talking to you about relationship because I messed it all up. I'm not going to tell you how to have a great marriage when mine failed. Now, when I get it right, man, we can talk about it. Does that make sense? So stop going to people who are failing at the same level or in the same area that you're failing and asking them for their advice. 2 broke people can only help you be what? Broker, right? Broker. So be clear that we need to be, as peak performing women, we've got to be able to make a decision. We also have to be confident. We have to be confident, have an assurance, especially, a self-reliance. Now, that's how we move, okay? But we know in ourselves that we're not just reliant on us, are we? So my definition is that we have an assurance based on our knowledge of who we are in Christ Jesus. So it's a God-level confidence. It's a confidence that no matter what happens, he's not going to let you down. It's a confidence that no matter what you go through, that he sees the end from the beginning and knows that, okay, in order to get you back on track, I have to allow this to happen. Notice I said allow. Because God is not the one who creates these problems in our lives. We want to even say that the devil, the enemy, does these things. But how many of you know that a lot of us, we create our own drama? We create our own drama. We make choices that cause these things to come into our lives. And as a result, we want to look back and say, oh, God, why did you let this happen? No, honey, why did you let it happen? All right. Why did we put ourselves in the position? And it's okay if you learn something and move on. The key is to go on through it, not to stop. Don't pitch a tent and live in the middle of it thinking that somehow it's going to get better. It's like when it's raining really hard. Have you ever seen you're driving and it's like a torrential downpour, right? And you see some people, they pull over to the side of the road and they stop. And then some people, they just keep moving through. Well, we've got to be as peak performers. We've got the people who have to, right, what she said. Okay. You know what I mean, right? We have to be the people who continue to move through it. Because a lot of times you find that if you would just go another 100, 500, 1,000 feet, there's the sunshine. It's only a cloud. You just have to get beyond the cloud so that you can see more clearly. Well, if that is how it is in the natural, how much more is it that way in the spiritual? You know, just because we don't see the end doesn't mean there isn't one. You know, people say to me a lot of times, well, why didn't you quit? Because I've been through some stuff. Literally, I should be talking to you guys from a padded cell. Literally, if it weren't for the grace of God. But because I was afraid to quit, I was afraid to give up because I knew that the darkest time came just before dawn, right? And I knew that if I quit today, tomorrow might be my breakthrough. And if I miss my breakthrough, then all of what I've been through was nothing. And I know I didn't go through all of that for nothing, okay? And neither did you. So be confident. If you can't be confident in yourself, be confident in what God said about you. See, if God made you good, and he said it from the very beginning, who is that person, that man, that woman, that child to say that you aren't? And why do you believe them? You're trying to tell me that their words have more weight in your life than God Almighty's words? God made me good. That's all I need to know. All right. Go a step further. Think about this. Your father's sperm beat out 40 billion others to get to your mama's egg. If that doesn't make you special, if that doesn't make you a winner, I don't know what does. Okay. Bob said speed, right? We obviously have some speed, right? To get through that. So we've got to be confident about what we're doing. We got to be confident about how we're doing it, how much of it we do. And then, of course, we got to be confident about why it is that we're doing it. All right. We've got to be disciplined. We have to be focused. You know, be hard on yourself and life will be easy on you. If you're not hard on yourself, life will be hard on yourself. Does anyone have children in the room? Now, did anybody tell your kids that? Look, here's the thing. You can do it right because you know it's the right thing to do, or you can do it right, but you gonna do it right. Bottom line, right? So we teach them discipline at an early age, whereas we sometimes, because we become 18 years old, we think that we don't have to flow the way that we want our children to go. We don't have to be disciplined. We can do what we want to do. And you know what? That is a recipe for absolute disaster. So discipline and focus are crucial. We've got to be, the word discipline, delaying gratification. See, there's a season, there's a time for everything. Right now, the season that we're living in is not the time for television. Matter of fact, one of my mentors said that if you're not earning $20,000 a month or better, you shouldn't even own a television. How many of us watch, we got to watch these certain sitcoms. How do you sit calmly watching someone else live their dreams while your dreams are laying in waste? How does that work? How do we do that? I mean, your dreams, your goals are worth your time and your attention, your focus. And we know that focus means what? Firmly on course until successful. We have to stay firmly on course until successful. All right? Again, we have to create better habits. Average of what? 21 days to create a habit. Like right now, me and some of my friends were doing going through the New Testament in 30 days. Through the New Testament in 30 days. That's like 10 chapters a day. How many of you know to read 10 chapters of the Bible at any one time, you have to be focused? That means you got to turn off the television, turn off the phone, because anything and everything that can come will come to break your focus off your daily bread. All right? So you got to be disciplined. You got to learn how to be focused. You got to understand your thinking. Okay, we've heard scripture, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Well, how do you do that? What are you thinking? How are you thinking? Look at this for a moment, just looking at the illustration. Look at the first guy in the upper left-hand corner. He has no goals. The stars represent goals, okay? And the box represents his mindset, right? Or it could be even a barrier. You decide. But he has no goals. He's not thinking about anything. This is the person who's sitting there in front of the television, okay, with the remote control, just kind of drooling, not thinking about anything, just kind of vegged out, all right? Now, there are times where we need to do that, but schedule them because they can tend to go on and on and on and on. You look up 10 years later and you're still watching television. You've done nothing about your God-given destiny. And then the second person, upper right-hand corner, he's got a whole lot of goals. And he's trying to go after all of them. So he's kind of confused. He's not really effective in any area, all right? So this is the person who's sitting there in front of, Verizon Fios and just flipping from channel to channel, not focused on anything, but having all of these goals, dreams, and desires. Now, timing is crucial. See, just because we have a goal, a dream, or God gives us an idea does not mean that it is time to do it today. It may be time to record and journal and write about it and to put together your strategy and your plan, but just because you hear it today doesn't mean that it's time to do it today. So it's okay to have many goals, but you need to know what God is saying to execute at what period of time. All right. Your assignment always has a time attached to it. Now, then there's this other person at the lower left-hand corner. He's got a goal, but it's kind of faded. It's kind of foggy. He's not real clear about it at all. He's just kind of, I know this is something I want to do in the future. I'm going to own this takeout restaurant, or I'm going to even build this church, this ministry. Man, I need to start the ministry, get the website up I know I need to do something. But he's just kind of like, real lackadaisical about it. Not real serious. He thinks he's got all the time in the world. But we see every day that people are dying every day, aren't they? People are losing the opportunity to work toward their goals and dreams on a daily basis for one reason or another. This is the person who's really a cynic. He's watching. He doesn't really even believe that he can truly achieve his goal. This is a guy, you remember that television show, Mr. Ed, the talking horse? He watches Mr. Ed and he's saying, you know what? Horses don't talk. You know what I mean? SpongeBob, sponges don't talk. There's just no joy in his life because he's this absolute cynic. And then look at the bottom right-hand corner. This is where you've got your peak performer. A single goal, clearly defined, looking straight ahead, and consequently will ultimately achieve the goal. Doesn't mean that they don't go through any resistance, but in the process of getting to the goal, he's becoming someone different. Now, what happens, this is amazing. See, when you focus is a magnet. Did you know that? See, what you focus on expands. It gets bigger and it attracts more of the like. So if you're focused on being an author, so to speak, you will start to see, as you start to do the research, you'll find opportunities. Not even so much the ones that you research, but things will just start to come to you and just start to itself to you. When I started the Queen's Legacy Project, I didn't know I absolutely didn't. I didn't know that there were people who had written books that I didn't know had written books. There were people in the process of publishing this book that learned procedurally what they need to do to publish their own. So this was a huge, huge undertaking. Do you need me? Okay, come on. A huge, you done distracted me now. Thank you. A huge, huge undertaking, but because we had a single focus and we all came together, we were able to get through it and to get it done. All right. So we've got to be like that fourth thinker. All right. And have a single goal in mind and go for it. Doesn't mean you don't have other things happening around you, but it's like if my goal is a best-selling book, then everything else becomes secondary to that after, of course, my relationship with God. And I'm literally, if you came to my house, anybody ever watch that show Monk? Sherry teases me. She says that I'm like Monk, okay? Because there's a place for everything. I'm a germaphobe, all of those things. It is what it is. Not as bad as Monk. But during this project, the 90 to 120 days that we were getting this done, my house was a wreck. There were things undone because why? I was focused on the main thing. I have a friend who has a saying. He says, first things first, second things never. First things first, second things never. Now, I know what he meant by that, because, he's not a woman with kids and all the other types of responsibilities that we have. But it makes sense. If you've decided that this is my focus, that in this 30 or 60 or 90-day period, I'm going to get X done, you cannot allow the second things to pull you off of the first. So we've got to get good at prioritizing. We've got to get good at knowing what time to do what. And that, again, is recognizing the seasons. Part of that also is understanding why you're here. Some of us are going at this thing called life, trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do when you don't even know what God had in mind when he created you? See, he had something specific in mind. There's a specific problem you were created to solve. What is the problem that you were created to solve? A clue to that problem is what hurts you. WHY, what hurts you? What causes you pain? What group of people, when you hear about their problems, their plights, it causes your heart to bleed, like you really want to go after them. What hurts you? Get clear about your why. And understand, if your why is big enough, how to do something, it'll take care of itself. All you have to know is that, okay, God created me to do this. And then you sit down with your pen and begin to journal your thoughts about it. And then begin to put together a plan to actually do it. And you will see yourself thrust into it. I came into the business I'm in now to make extra money, I thought. I thought I was creating income. What I was really doing is building a platform to access people I would not have access to normally that needed what God had implanted in me. See, I've, again, been through some things, and most of you have too. But understand, you didn't go through them for yourself. You went through them so that you could use your experience to inspire other people to go through them as opposed to stopping and getting stuck. Anybody know anybody stuck in their lives? Anybody feel stuck in a certain area of your lives? Have you ever been stuck and you felt like, oh my God, if I could just get out of this place? And then someone comes along with a story or a background similar to yours and you're like, wow, she went through that too. I'm like, girl, yeah, I went through it, and this is how I got out of it. And if you would just apply the wisdom that they share with you, you will find yourself being able to get unstuck. But that is also a clue to you that once you're unstuck, you need to turn around and find some stuck people and help them to get unstuck. See, God had something specific in mind when he created each and every one of us. We need to get clear about what that is. And, you know, it's almost like a crusade. Everywhere I go, the message is the same. I can throw a different background on the PowerPoint. I can, do it in jeans. I can do it in a suit. But the message is the same. Get clear about why you're here. And once you're clear about why you're here, how to do what God calls you to do is simple. Now, it might have to come with some more conversation for a teenager or for an older person. Just depends. But the message is simple. What is your life's message? What is your mission statement? What did God say? Do this. And are you about doing it? Now, sometimes we get stuck in jobs, doing what we feel like we have to do as opposed to what we were created to do. And that's okay. There's nothing dishonorable about feeding your family. There's nothing dishonorable about that. Now, the only challenge is if God didn't create you to do that, you need to figure out what he created you to do because there's money for you there. You've got to get to the point, and I know this is going to sound really crazy, but understand my background. A single parent mom, okay, with $6,000 to $8,000 a month in bills and no income. And the key for me was learning how to attract money even when there was none. See, even though today, the 6 to 8 is not a problem anymore, but there are other things God called me to do that call for even more money. So we have to get to a place where we're not chasing money. It will elude you like a butterfly. You cannot chase down money. You've got to attract money by who you become and what it is that you're doing. We're going to talk about that real briefly in a couple moments too. So make sure that you are clear about your vision. Keep it fresh. Keep it around you. Always revisit it because you'll get new information about it. God spoke something to me that I was like, are you kidding me? Even recently, he even called me illiterate. He told me I was illiterate. God ever call you illiterate? He only did it because he knew he could. And what was I going to do anyway? But he knew I wouldn't be thrown off because he told me to do something. I said, but God, I'm not that person. I'm not this title that he was giving me. And he told me I was illiterate and needed to do some more research on the title because I didn't understand what he was saying. Now, I had two options. I could be mad. I couldn't figure out whether to be mad at the person who brought me the word or mad at God. I didn't know who to be mad at. I just knew that I was challenged by it. But instead, I went and did the research, and I'm like, oh, I'm already doing that. So it's really not that deep. You just want some structure to go around it. And each time that I go back and look at the notes that I wrote from that initial conversation, I get more clarity on the hows. Okay, how to get it done. So make sure your why is big enough, and how to do it is going to take care of itself. We already talked about being where you are, okay, and staying conscious, about the different levels of consciousness. We're not going to go into all of that. I will have an opportunity to come back and talk with you guys a little bit later at another time. But what I do want to talk to you about before we move on is about being more of who you are. Personal development is absolutely key. Now, I'm sure you understand it because you're here. All right, you understand that personal development is everything. You don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. And the only way to have more is to become more. And the only way to become more is to find people who are more and find out what they did. Read their books, listen to their CDs, attend their events. Find a way to get into that circle. Remember, we talked about your associations. Find a way to become a part of their associations. When I was first starting out in business, there were people who were already making $12,000, $15,000, $30,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. I wanted them to be a part of my circle, right? So what I had to do was I couldn't just walk up and say, hey, I want to be a part of the circle, because they were looking at me like, you're going to bring my average down, right? So I had to find a need in their lives and find a way to fill it. So one of the gentlemen had started to do a lot of traveling and was not real good at finding airfares. I don't do that. There are some people who are gifted and like doing it. I don't like doing it. However, I saw it as an opportunity to sow a seed into their lives, which would cause me to be in that circle, which would give me access. Does that make sense? I met Les Brown the first time at a book signing at the DC Armory. And I went up to him. I didn't even buy the book. I went up to him and I said, I've been praying for a mentor. And he looked at me. He says, really? Well, for what? And I just shared with him 30 seconds about what it was that I knew I was created to do. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? Your prayers have been answered. And he gave me all of his information, home number, address, everything. And the next weekend invited me over to the house for dinner with a group of people. Now, when I got there at that opportunity, I shared with him, I said, look, I'm not just here because I want you to assist me, but this is what I'm bringing to the table. So this is my area. This is, because you don't ever want people to feel like you owe them anything. Not saying that he would do that. I'm just saying, just in general, the confidence says, you know what, I have something to offer too. So this is going to be commerce. This is going to be business. This is going to be an exchange, not just a one-sided type of an opportunity. And I actually became one of his network marketing consultants. Anytime a company would come by, he would shoot it past me. What did I think? And because I had a good track record of calling it, again, another gift, we just had this incredible relationship. So there's very little. My daughter right now is probably closer to Les Brown than I am. Can you imagine having a Les Brown to speak into your child's life? Because your children don't hear you, right? So you got to surround them with people who they can hear from. And every time her report card comes out, she faxes it to him, and he gives her money for certain grade levels and making phone calls to help her get into certain schools. So you want to get into the habit of developing yourself so that you can flow in that vein. Network is not what you know anymore. It's who you know. It really is. It's not what you know. It's who you know. But some of us, we don't even want to smile at people when we see them in the street. You have no idea who you're smiling at. I was clowning a guy yesterday coming from the airport, just clowning him. Why? Because when you get people to laugh, they automatically start liking you. Now, before we leave, we're going to have a conversation, and some things are going to happen in his business, some things are going to happen in mine as a result. Why? Because I laughed and I smiled. Some of us, we could get a breakthrough if you would just change your face. It's really that simple. Just change your face, change your energy, be attractive. And I'm not even talking about your makeup. I'm talking about, we got these walls up. Conversely, we saw another lady, and her energy, she was walking around in a purple funk. It was just ugly. Didn't smile. You get eye contact with her, and she doesn't speak. And you're like, ew. Because I really have something I want to say to you that could help you, but because you just, nah, man. You've got the cross up. I'm not trying to get close to you. So some of you came all the way to Florida just to know that you need to change your face. And we have to read. We've all heard readers are leaders. They say that the best way to hide information from a person is to put it in a book. Put it in a book. Literally, everything that you're going through or will go through, somebody has been through and written a book about it. Yet we won't even do the research to find the book so that we can short circuit the process and enter our success even that much more quickly. Find out who has been through what you're going through, get their book, read about it, and be inspired as a result. Watch your mouth. Watch the things that you're saying, the seed that you're sowing. Some of us, another one of my mentors, I don't even remember who says this stuff anymore, but he was talking about we dig our graves with our mouths. What we eat. It's not, it's not the one hamburger that we eat. It's the, 200 hamburgers over a month's time period that cause us to have the issues that we have. And that's our physical bodies. Imagine emotionally and spiritually. The Bible says, watch your mouth. That something about, I can't even think of it. I just read it this morning. That out of your heart flow the issues of your life. And from the heart, your mouth speaks, right? So the stuff that's really in our hearts comes out of our mouth. So what we've got to do is really change what's in our hearts. And we only do that by getting different input. We've heard garbage in, garbage out. No, it's garbage in and it stays in until you take it out. It doesn't just flow out. You've got to replace that with good stuff. Okay, that's why personal development and reading is very important so that you're saying the things that you really want to have and not what you have. Sometimes it even feels like lying. I know there were times even in the book project where I was like, I wanted so badly to say, this can't work. I just don't see how this is going to happen. But I said, that's okay. The baby's going to be born. The baby will be birthed. Baby going to be here, And I remember it literally times feeling like I was literally having labor pains, contractions. And when I first held the book, I should have brought the picture so that you could see. When I opened the box and pulled the book out, I looked like I had just come through labor. I mean, I had no makeup. I had been sweating. I was just kind of like, wow. And I held it like a little baby. And that's how we cradled. It was so cool yesterday at the airport where I saw a lady on the shuttle and she had the book and she wasn't just kind of carrying it, but she had it tucked under like you would carry a baby facing forward. So you could see her arm and it said the Queen's Legacy book was there. And I was so touched because that's my baby. You know what I mean? I know that other people were part of it, but that's my baby. And you got to understand that there are things in your life that you're going to bring forth that you're going to have to push. You're going to have to deal with the morning sickness. You're going to have to deal with the abdominal cramps as your pelvic spreads and all of the things that happen when you have babies, when you deliver the things that God has for you. Because that was something that God had already manifested in the spiritual realm. My only job was to bring it into the natural realm. And the things that you have, your ideas, your dreams, your visions, the things that you're even seeing, they already exist in the spiritual realm. Your job is just to go through the labor, the pains, and bring it into the natural realm. That's all it is. It's really that simple. Don't give me no pity pass. You're either excited about it or you're not. That middle stuff ain't happening. Be hot, be cold. That stuff in the middle, no thank you. And you got to act as if. You have to act as if the thing that you want to have is already. It's a principle. The Bible says, speak those things which aren't as though they were. But, it's a principle. All of these principles, these personal development principles, they're based on the Bible, on the Word of God. So it doesn't matter what you believe, it works anyway, is the point. So act as if. If you want to be a millionaire, find a millionaire and emulate. Do what they do. Now, I'm not saying spend what they spend and go into debt. I'm saying create the same mindset that they have that causes them to attract wealth. See, there are people, it's like Judy opened this event. She said that it is still a $1 billion economy and it all belongs to our Father. So if God has the cattle on 1,000 hills, we should have a stake sometimes. Does that make sense? We should not be sitting here talking about what we don't have. We just simply need to appropriate what's already ours. Anyway, that's okay. And I know that we talked earlier about having a comfort zone. I don't know whose idea the comfort zone thing was. We don't have to have a comfort zone. Just like depression. What was it back in the day when my mother was coming up? It wasn't depression. It was, girl, get your attitude right before I beat you, right? And magically she figured out how to pull it all together. Now we got a title for it so that we can live in a depressed state as opposed to living where we should be, okay, at those levels. Same thing with comfort zone. Who said you had to have a comfort zone? The world is my comfort zone. Anybody ever been embarrassed? Do you still get embarrassed? Why? The only reason that you would ever get embarrassed is because your ego is in the way. Let me share with you why. I'm walking in front of, oh my God, it had to be 3,000 people. Across the street, girl, you should see me. I had on this dress, right? This knit dress was black, long. Had on the stilettos. It was bad. It was good. Y'all know how you know sometimes you look at yourself, you be like, dang, right? Tell the truth. Well, it was one of those days. So I'm walking. I came out. It was a convention, and I was walking with somebody. And on my way out, I'm tipping. Right? And I fall to my knee on the ground. I get up, brush up. I keep walking and talking like nothing happened. Everybody went, and the guy I was walking with, he was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, what's the problem? He said, you just fell. Aren't you embarrassed? I'm like, why? Have you never fallen? That never happened to you before? I don't identify with the fall. I identify with the walk, right? I still look good going down. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about how you need to see it to make it work for you. It ain't about anybody else, all right? So here's the thing. I know that I'm out of time. We're running very, very close to time. And, there's definitely more that we could talk about. The whole idea is this. Understand that in order to be successful, sometimes you have to choose to fail. And it's just like Bob said, just as long as you fail forward. Now, successful people, we fail often. We make a lot of mistakes. We learn literally the ways that things don't work. So I don't see it as a failure. I just see it as part of the process. It's part of making progress. And a lot of times the things that we think we fail in, we don't really fail. We just, it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. Maybe you were missing a key piece of information, one number in the combination. So go back, get the number, and go ahead and do what it is that you were created to do. Decide right now that you're never going to give up. Decide that you're never going to give up on your goals and your dreams, all right? Decide that you're never going to give up on who God created you to be. Decide that if he gave you the mantle, then you must be able to carry it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's already in you what you need to have that success. Do you realize, remember, everybody knows of Chicken Soup and the Soul, that book, right? Do you know that 140 different publishers rejected that manuscript? 140. What if they had given up after the first 2 or 3 or 4? The average millionaire makes their first million after 5 to 7 tries, 5 to 7 major failures. Some of us we can stand to fail a little bit more, right? So you got to get afraid of the fear of failure and embrace failure, because there's always a lesson that you can learn. 4 reasons people fail: we move too slow. God says it's time now, and we want to wait and think it out some more. Moving too slow. Sometimes we lose our focus. We allow things come in. I tell you, every time that I've decided to do something great, something crazy happens in my children's lives. Literally, if I told you in the Queen's legacy, I don't agree with them, but hey, that's your lives. Live it out. Live with what you're going through. Secondly, we don't have a plan, or we don't have a commitment to that plan. These are top 4 reasons why people fail. And number 1, we fail to keep our commitments and our agreements with others. You cannot expect for God to bless you when you're not doing all you know to do. When your word is not good. Okay, your word is more, people say, my word is my bond. That's cute, that's cool. But your word is everything, because beyond that, you don't really have anything where the masses are concerned. So we've got to stay connected. We got to stay connected to our source. We do that through prayer, meditation. Okay, we do that through, being around people that believe what we believe. Okay, that act like we act, that walk like we want to walk. All right, your mission, your goal is not to save the world, but there is a part of the world that you were created to save. There are problems to solve, I should say. So you want to get clear about that. And finally, you need to ask for a miracle. Some of us just need a way out. Some of us just need an extraordinary event to manifest in our lives that shows that God is God, to remind us. Sometimes we haven't learned how to see him in every little thing. I call them like love letters. There are things I'm like, you did that for me. You know what I mean? It might be nothing to somebody, but to me, like, we got upgraded when we came to the hotel yesterday. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God, because you knew that Mrs. Smith took up a lot of room in my room, right? I'm just messing with her. But we needed more room because there were 2 of us, and they gave it to us and didn't pay anything extra. To me, I saw that. I was like, you know what? I'm grateful. Have an attitude of gratitude for even the small things that happen, so that God can allow the big things to happen in your life as well. And for me, a miracle, sometimes I just need God's miraculous or magnificent intervention into my reality. A clearly lit escape. MIRACLE. His magnificent intervention into our realities. A clearly lit escape. And that's our prayer for you this weekend, that God would perform miracles. And that our prayer is that even as you're here, those things at home that have concerned you, that they would just work themselves out. So I just thank God for allowing you to understand that when things want to distract you, when problems happen, distract yourself with the positive. Keep that gratitude journal. So anytime you think, oh God, I can't go through this, you can go back and say, well, he brought me through this. He brought me through that. And because I was grateful, then he's going to bring me through this as well. God bless you. Take care. I'll talk to you guys later.